Good evening. This is another edition of Resource PNG. On tonight's show, we chat with the Managing Director of Exxon Mobil, Peter Graham, about the milestone first shipment of LNG cargo. We take a further look at the PNG LNG project in a short report, and we also feature the Oil Search AGM. On May 25th, Exxon Mobil shipped the first cargo from the $19 billion PNG LNG project, ahead of shipment schedule. The PNG LNG project is expected to produce 9 trillion cubic feet of gas over the next 30 years of operations. The first cargo is for the largest LNG customer, Tokyo Electric Power Company, or TEPCO in Japan. The Prime Minister was in Tokyo recently to receive the first LNG shipment that was loaded onto the tanker Spirit of Hela. We now join Peter Graham to talk about this milestone achievement for Exxon Mobil and PNG.
Thank you for coming on our show, Mr. Graham. The PNG LNG project has gone off before schedule. This probably marks the highlight of your career. How are you feeling at this time?
My biggest feeling is one of pride. I mean, it's just an enormous achievement for the team that's been working this for years to actually see the first cargo sail. It's not just the project management team, but I think also the government, co-venturers, and others, communities who've had a role to play in helping us deliver the project. It's just an amazing feeling to get to this point.
Many have lauded the manner in which Exxon has carried out this project. There were some large hurdles. Looking back, what according to you were the greatest hurdles and how did you overcome them? What are the lessons learned?
I think the biggest challenges in the first instance are just the physical challenges in Papua New Guinea. Challenging logistics, I mean the weather and the terrain. I mean those three factors contribute to make a project quite difficult to execute. Meters of rain, I mean near vertical mountains to climb up with pipelines. Those issues are just immensely challenging, but the project through some excellent planning, careful thought about how to optimise the execution strategy, have really got on top of those issues, and I think we've seen the results of that bring this project ahead of schedule. So, royalties start to flow to the government immediately, the gas starts to flow. So what the government has done, recognising that the challenges of identifying all of the appropriate beneficiaries and then determining the final sharing process, the government's taken the important step of setting up a trust account with the Bank of Papua New Guinea, into which we can pay the royalties so that they're kept for safekeeping, for distribution when the finalisation of the clan vetting process is achieved. So it will take some months, I'm sure, to get through that process, which is really quite complex. But in the meantime, the money is there, it's been paid by the developer into this trust account, and will be held securely to be parcelled out to landowners as soon as this next phase is complete.
When Exxon first came into PNG, you spoke of transforming the economy, and you have to a great extent. But over the course, people have been laid off, and as you rightly say, they have been equipped with a lot of skills. But how is Exxon henceforward looking at actively working to still continue to transform the PNG economy?
As you say, we've trained thousands of people, probably 10,000 Papua New Guineans. Their skills are available to other companies in Papua New Guinea to apply in different situations, either projects or in industrial enterprises. So on a personnel level, the value of that skills transfer will be with the country for years to stimulate the economy. On the business side, we put enormous energy into building and supporting the growth of companies in Papua New Guinea. We've spent billions of kina in the country, and through that process we've helped strengthen those companies' ability to participate and continue to grow their businesses. So I think the knock-on effect of our project will be felt for many, many years to come in terms of skills transfer, business development opportunity, and just community support.
You have spoken on a number of occasions of assisting the government with power for Port Moresby. What initiatives can Exxon undertake to alleviate the power problems in Port Moresby, and can this be replicated in the Highlands as well?
Look, we've had preliminary discussions with the government at the Prime Minister's request. I mean, clearly we understand there's a With the growth that's occurred in the economy, there's a greater demand for power, for energy basically in the country. Those discussions have started, but we've got a good way to go. The discussions really are around our ability to supply a certain volume of gas to support power generation around Port Moresby. I'm optimistic that we'll get to a satisfactory conclusion there, but it'll take some time to get that set up. At Hydes in the Highlands, as part of our original agreement with the landowners there and the government, we set aside 4 million standard cubic feet a day of gas for power generation purposes at Hydes. That gas is available today if and when PNG Power is ready to set up a generating unit up in the Hydes area, and then sets in place the infrastructure to distribute that power to the local communities. So I think progress, but it will just take some time, and people will need to be patient working through those issues. It's not as if you can just throw a switch and suddenly there's power.
More of this interview after the break. Welcome back. We continue the interview with Managing Director for Exxon Mobil PNG, Peter Graham.
Still, while on the topic of benefits, the 4 impacted villages, can you explain to us the benefits that Exxon as a company has given to these 4 impacted villages?
Look, I can provide some data on that. I mean, for a start, some 2,500 people from the 4 villages were employed on the project. I mean, that's enormous. I mean, just for local people to have 2,500 members of their community employed on the project. And about 1,600 of those went through the Port Moresby Training College, and about 30% of those were women. So in terms of the impact immediately in terms of job availability, for much of 4 years, people from the 4 villages have enjoyed high quality employment, skills acquisition and excellent training to support their future employment opportunities either on the project or elsewhere. In terms of business support, we've invested a large effort in helping stand up the umbrella landowner company, LABA, and we've spent significant amounts of money with them as they provided services to the project, the LNG plant site. Things like catering, camp maintenance, security, labour hire. I think the LABA company has done well. We advanced them some 14 million kina to get them started, and to their credit, they've earned sufficient revenues and distributed dividends, but also paid that money back. So in terms of business development, great progress, I think, and they're set for the future. In terms of community projects, we've done a lot of work with the 4 villages. I mean, typically we've done a project with each village, not in terms of handout of cash, which is not our way of doing community support work, but working with the villages where they put some sweat equity into the project. We've got things like the boardwalk at Papa, we've got clinics, we've had drum ovens provided to women's groups, and we helped establish a Sunday market, and I believe the women folk who run that market have earned something like 150,000 kina so far through the Sunday market. So very substantial input economically and training-wise and business-wise to the 4 villages.
These are great benefits, but what about in terms of infrastructure? Some people complain that the roads still remain, in a state that they were previously prior to when Exxon came in.
Look, I think if you really travel out to the LNG plant site, you would find that difficult to support. I mean, we built probably one of the best roads in Papua New Guinea from Motakere Island out to the LNG plant site. The government, for its part, is in the process of announcing today, I believe, in Parliament, the infrastructure development grants for the 4 roads off that central road that we constructed to each of the 4 villages. So again, I think you'll find us, the project in partnership with the government, are really working on providing some of that infrastructure to the 4 villages.
Moving on to production, what remaining activities are left for Exxon to reach full production rates?
Today we're able to run the LNG plant. Virtually everything on the site is now fully commissioned and started up. The remaining work is really to complete several additional wells at Hydes to give us the full volume of gas to flow. We've got some minor tuning work to do, both facilities, the Hydes facilities and the LNG plant site. and then we'll progressively ramp up. But for us, it's all about a safe start-up. We're not going to try and ramp production up too quickly until we're confident we can do everything within that plant safely and efficiently. So it's just a progressive ramp up to maximum volume, which we'll see over the next few months.
Finally, Mr. Graham, can you tell us the exploration activities that Exxon is undertaking to add additional resources?
Well, we have an active exploration program because we're keen to try and leverage the infrastructure investment we've made in Papua New Guinea associated with the project. We've got seismic programs that are underway up in the Highlands area, and we also have plans in place for the drilling of what's referred to as Hides Deep, testing what is thought to be a potential another reservoir under the large Hides reservoir that we're producing from today. So an active program, and we just need to see what the results of that are over the next few years to see if we can underpin further investment in LNG production in PNG.
Coming up on the show, we feature a short report on the PNG LNG project. You're with Resource PNG. We now feature this report on the PNG LNG project.
To truly appreciate PNG's first ever liquefied natural gas project, we have to go back in time to how it all started. The gas fields were first owned by Pacific Pipeline, a subsidiary of Chevron. When the ownership of the gas fields transferred to Exxon Mobil, the company's initial plan was to transport the gas to Australia via a 4,000-kilometer long pipeline. The pipeline was to be built from Kutubu through Gobi and Kopi to Bamaga, and then south to Gladstone in Queensland, where it was to be connected with existing infrastructure. That project was not meant to be, and it was deemed not feasible and suspended in 2007.
The government has formally signed and executed a gas agreement with development partners led by Exxon Mobil for the establishment of a multi-billion kina LNG project. The project, when in full operation, is expected to double the country's total earnings and create thousands of jobs for Papua New Guineans. The agreement was today signed on behalf of the state by the Governor-General, Grand Chief Sepolius Matane, and was later presented to the Prime Minister at Parliament House.
Negotiations have been tough, but fair. I believe the agreed terms represent the value of the state and addresses the important issue of sharing any windfall revenues that can be generated by projects in the extractive industries.
That project was revisited and amended in 2008. On the 22nd of May that year, the government of PNG and New Project Consortium signed an agreement outlining the fiscal and legal framework for the project. The developer of the project, Exxon Mobil, an American multinational oil and gas corporation, the world's third largest company by revenue. The company owns 33.2% of participating interest. Other shareholders include Oil Search, the National Petroleum Company of PNG, Santos, JX Nippon Oil and Gas Exploration, Mineral Resources Development Company, and Petromin. The PNG LNG project includes gas production and processing facilities in the Southern Highlands, Hela, Western, Gulf and Central provinces. With over 700 kilometers of pipeline connecting the facilities, which includes a gas conditioning plant in Hides and liquefaction and storage facilities with capacity of 6.9 million tons per year. The estimated cost for the initial phase of the project, excluding shipping costs, is estimated to be at US $19 billion. Over the 30-year life of the project, over 9 trillion cubic feet of gas will be produced and sold. Countries who have agreed to buy LNG include Japan, China, and Taiwan. So what exactly is liquefied natural gas? It is natural gas which is cooled to approximately 160 degrees Celsius, which turns it into a liquid form, reducing its volume by 600 times and allowing for safe and efficient transport via specialized vessels. The construction phase of the project was met with challenges, including difficult terrain, limited logistics, and extreme weather conditions.
We'll be back with more after the break. Thanks for staying with us. We continue with the report on the PNG LNG project.
The project brought employment and training opportunities for several thousand Papua New Guineans. And in order to provide sustainable benefits, the PNG LNG project's national content plan encompassed 3 pillars: workforce development, supplier development, and strategic community investment. Training of Papua New Guineans has been a key focus area. Over 10,000 locals underwent training focused on developing the technical and professional skills of workers by exposing them to new challenges and working environments. To date, 1.9 million hours of training has been conducted. Courses were conducted primarily at the project's training facilities in Port Moresby, CTF, Juni, in Hela province, and through regular sessions by the project contractors as well. Other training courses include operations and maintenance technicians, graduate engineers, and capacity building at the Enterprise Center. This world-class project also relied on highly specialized skills of qualified staff from all over the world. At the end of 2013, more than 14,700 people, including almost 5,600 Papua New Guineans, were employed with the project. Come 2014, and the construction phase started winding down. Ahead of schedule, a little over 2 weeks ago, Exxon Mobil announced it would commence with the first loading of the LNG. A tour of the plant gave a glimpse of the magnitude of the project. This structure, known as a train, is where the liquefied natural gas is processed after it travels down all the way from Hela in the Southern Highlands province. There are currently 2 trains. The onshore tanks are capable of safely storing the very cold liquid which will be transported to customers via specialized vessels. An exclusive ceremony was held to capture the moment. Invited guests included Sir Michael Somare, then Prime Minister at the time of the initial project signing, and then IPPC Minister Arthur Somare, often referred to as the architect behind the negotiations. Exxon Mobil Managing Director Peter Graham said the years had been challenging, but with sound engineering, planning and creative solutions by a dedicated group of people, the project has come this far.
The loading of the first cargo, and just acknowledge the support we've had from Papua New Guinea. We're guests here, but from the Prime Minister down, through all of the bureaucracy, through the provincial governments and the local level governments, we've enjoyed remarkable support, and without that support we would not be where we are today. So we're very, very grateful for that, and we too look forward to a successful project for the next 30 years.
He said the facilities have been constructed over the last 4 years, and over the last few months gradually handed over to the production team. He thanked the government and the people of Papua New Guinea for supporting the project. Sir Michael Somare said it had been a long, hard road, especially for a society that was fragmented with a diversity of beliefs.
The team worked so hard on the side of government to make sure we have something that we will launch today. Against all the odds, I said, guys, go and do it.
Hela Governor Anderson Agiru said he was besieged by the awe of the moment, thanking his people for their support.
I can recall the days we spent sleepless nights with our chairman for the Economic Committee, Patrick Price today, the treasurer, and Arthur Somare, and a few of us walked this path to deliver this project. And Prime Minister, I'm glad that LNG is finally here, and people, all stakeholders, will benefit from this.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill gave his vote of confidence in the country for accommodating a world-class operation.
This is a momentous occasion for Papua New Guinea, a very special day for PNG. This project has highlighted many achievements for us. One of them is that we are capable of delivering a world-class project to We have done so almost on budget and well in advance of time. And I think credit goes again to Peter Graham for the commitment that you have shown, and many other hundreds of Papua New Guineans who have worked on this project.
The Finance Minister, James Marape, said a prayer in the Huli language. The honour was then given to the Prime Minister to officially give order to the ships operating to start loading the LNG onto the vessel.
This is Prime Minister Peter O'Neill. I am thrilled to authorize you to begin the process to prepare the Spirit of Hela for the loading of the first cargo of liquefied natural gas from the PNG LNG project.
Roger that, Mr. Prime Minister. We will now proceed to load the first PNG LNG cargo. Over. Mr. Prime Minister, we have started loading the first PNG LNG cargo. Over.
Hooray! Hooray!
A total of 6 ships will be used to export the LNG to the Asian markets. Meanwhile, there will be an opportunity for PNG to buy some of the LNG to counter electricity issues.
We can talk to that, I think. I mean, we all recognise that power generation, electricity supply, particularly in Port Moresby, is challenged today. At the Prime Minister's initiative, we've had some very early discussions around the possibility of making some gas available for power generation here in Port Moresby, and we hope to progress those discussions in the very near term.
As Mr. Graham has stated, we are trying to secure some gas supply here so that we can get rid of the blackouts that we have in Port Moresby and many parts of our country. And of course, power generation for our provinces in Hela and Southern Highlands and parts of the Highlands. So that work is very positive. It's ongoing. We hope to conclude the discussions very, very soon. Our state solicitors are now working on some documents that has been made available to them. We will be making some announcements very soon.
The first load of LNG was shipped to Japan. The production phase has begun. This will be the process for the 30-year life of the project. As the greatest milestone for the country is being celebrated in hosting the first ever LNG project, the people of Papua New Guinea look forward with greater zeal and enthusiasm to even more development from the revenue of this multi-billion-dollar project in the years to come. The government plans to establish a sovereign wealth fund to safeguard windfalls from the project.
And we must remember that Papua New Guinea belongs not to just us, but future generations as well. And government should be reminded that the enormous benefit expected to flow into government's hands must be used to create alternative investments, to produce income flow for the future generation.
Oil Search, that's coming up next. Welcome back to Resource PNG. Oil Search recently celebrated its 85th anniversary in January this year, making it one of the oldest operators in the country. We now take a look at this short report highlighting Oil Search's transition over the years. Oil Search recently announced a staggering record profit for 2013. In its annual general meeting held in Port Moresby, Richard Lee, the company's chairman, was pleased to talk about the company's progress from year 2013 to 2014. Mr. Lee also proudly announced that the company, which celebrated its 85th anniversary in January 2014, is a company in transition. An important highlight of his address to shareholders was on the PNG LNG project, in which OSL is the second largest shareholder. The project has reached production phase and the first shipment out of the country has already been made.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to be here today to talk about our progress in 2013 and our plans for 2014 and beyond. As many of you will know, Oil Search, which celebrated its 85th anniversary in January 2014, is a company in transition. Over the next year, the commencement of sales from the PNG LNG project will transform us from a medium-sized oil and gas explorer and producer to a significant LNG exporter. Major progress has been made on this journey in 2013. By the end of the year, construction of the PNG LNG project was close to completion and commissioning activities were well underway. I'm happy to report that production of LNG commenced in April this year and the first LNG tanker is now loading and will depart for Asia in the next few days. And there it is, and you will have seen it, I think, in the press and on the television. It is a very significant event both for Oil Search and for Papua New Guinea. The start of LNG exports is a momentous event. And firstly, I'd like to congratulate the operator, Exxon Mobil PNG Limited, for delivering this large and complex project ahead of schedule and within the revised budget of US $19 billion. I would also like to congratulate all the Oil Search staff, both past and present, who have worked for many years on the project. Oil Search had a vision over a decade ago to develop the vast gas reserves in the highlands, and it's very fulfilling to see this dream finally come to fruition. The project heralds a new era for both Oil Search and Papua New Guinea. We expect the project to be producing at full capacity by 2015. In its first full year, it will quadruple our production base and contribute more than 1.3 billion annually to the company's operating cash flows. For PNG, it is estimated that the project will more than double the country's GDP, creating a long-term, steady revenue stream for current and future generations.
Apart from LNG updates, Richard Lee also announced the strong performance of its PNG oil fields, which has contributed to the country's record profit of $205.7 million, a staggering 17% higher than the last year. With the contributions from its new wells, Oil Search increased its production by 6%. The strong performance also contributed to steady dividends paid per share. But with LNG on board, there is a review going on to further increase dividend payments.
2013 also saw another strong performance from our PNG oil fields. Total production increased 6%, reflecting contributions from new wells and proactive field management. The success in keeping production from this mature set of oil fields relatively flat for the past 5 years is a testament to the skill and dedication of the Oil Search production and operations teams. Net profit generated by these fields, plus our Hides gas supply business, was $205.7 million, 17% higher than last year. Total dividends paid for the 2013 year were 4 US cents, or 9.5 toya per share, the same as last year, in line with the board's policy to maintain steady dividends in US dollar terms during the construction phase of the PNG LNG project. Once the PNG LNG project has reached financial completion and is producing at full capacity, the board plans to materially increase dividend payments. The precise dividend policy, including how we will balance paying dividends with reinvesting cash into our growth projects, will be developed over the coming months as part of our 2014 strategic review.
In terms of further expansion, Mr. Lee said that with the foundation PNG LNG infrastructure in place, a key objective for Oil Search is to capitalise on this asset base through LNG. And with the acquisition of 23% interest in PRL 15, containing the Elk Antelope fields, the company is confident that it will deliver up to 3 further LNG trains at the end of the decade.
Now that the foundation PNG LNG project infrastructure is in place, a key objective for Oil Search is to capitalise on this asset base through LNG expansion. We are actively working together with our joint venture partners to aggregate the necessary gas resources to underpin the development of further LNG trains. As well as the large gas resource at Pinyang in PRL 3 and potential upside in the existing PNG LNG fields, in particular at Hides, early this year we added materially to our gas portfolio by the acquisition of a 23% interest in PRL 15, containing the Elk Antelope fields. While further exploration and appraisal drilling is required to better quantify the size of the resource, we are confident that PRL 15 contains sufficient gas to underpin a commercially attractive and value-accretive LNG project. Together with the potential expansion of the PNG LNG project, this means there is a high probability that the company will have invested in up to 3 further LNG trains by the end of the decade. With interest in both PNG LNG and the potential PRL 15 LNG opportunity, Oil Search is in an excellent position to help drive new LNG developments in the country and to ensure that they are developed optimally, making maximum use of existing infrastructure in country.
More Resource PNG after the break. Thanks for staying with us. We continue our report on the Oil Search AGM. The chairman also gave an update of 2 very important issues that got the public and media talking. This includes the sale by Interoil for part of its interest and the recent acquisition by the PNG government of a 10% interest in Oil Search.
I'd now like to address 2 issues related to our PRL 15 acquisition that have been receiving a lot of attention. The first is the legal steps we are taking regarding the sale by Interoil of part of its interest in PRL 15 to Total SA in late March. Oil Search believes that the transfer of this interest, first announced in December 2013, is subject to various notifications and preemptive rights under the PRL 15 Joint Venture Operating Agreement. As a result, the company has commenced a dispute resolution process, which includes arbitration proceedings in London. We believe that as we set out on what we hope will be a 20-year plus relationship, it is vital that our legal rights are respected and that all parties have full clarity on the joint venture operating rules and to commit to abide by them. We have also engaged in formal negotiations with the parties in the event that a commercial resolution can be reached. Given the potential substantial value of an LNG development to the joint venture participants and to the nation, we support the appraisal and development of PRL 15 as quickly and as efficiently as possible. The second issue I'd like to talk about is the recent acquisition by the PNG government of a 10% interest in Oil Search. The background to this transaction, and in our view the rationale for the government's investment, is as follows. In 2009, the PNG government needed to raise money to fund its share of the PNG LNG project's development costs. After assessing various sources of financing at the time, US $1.68 billion was raised by issuing bonds to the International Petroleum Investment Company of Abu Dhabi, IPIC, that would exchange into the government's 196.6 million holding in Oil Search in March 2014. Effectively, what the government did in 2009 was forward sell its Oil Search shares at a price of $8.55 Australian per share, a far higher price than the share price at the time, and some 8 times the price in 2002 when the government originally acquired the Oil Search shares. IPIC was willing to pay this higher price because of a belief that Oil Search's share price would steadily increase over time, which it has. In fact, over the 5 years to the end of December 2013, Oil Search's share price has increased by nearly 80%, making it one of the best performers in the Australian stock market. Moving forward 5 years, after discussions between the government and IPIC related to the government buying back the shares were unsuccessful, the exchangeable bonds matured in March 2014 and were exchanged into the government's Oil Search shares, in line with the original agreement. This left the government without a direct stake in Oil Search, a company with a proven record of delivering high returns to shareholders, and for the first time in 12 years. With the PNG LNG project just months away from starting to generate large cash flows, the PNG government will soon be looking for good long-term investment opportunities. While much of the government's PNG LNG revenues will be invested into new infrastructure, hospitals and schools, a proportion will be prudently invested through a sovereign wealth fund for future generations. Aware that we were assessing funding alternatives to finance our proposed PRL 15 acquisition, the government approached Oil Search with an offer to fund a 10% placement, which we accepted. We believe having the government as a key shareholder in Oil Search is beneficial to both parties, as we have many shared objectives, in particular driving the future development of the country's abundant gas resources. As some will know, the Ombudsman Commission has commenced an investigation into the loan provided by UBS to the government to finance its Oil Search investment. While Oil Search was not a party to these loan arrangements, we welcome the Ombudsman inquiry and hope that they will clear the air on this issue. We welcome both the government and IPIC to the share register. Their respective investments in Oil Search clearly demonstrate their confidence in the company's assets and its range of growth projects. These include not only the oil and gas fields, the PNG LNG project and LNG expansion opportunities, but also significant oil upside in Kurdistan.
In terms of the company's standing in PNG, Oil Search attributed much of its success to the stable business environment of PNG and is further committed to work with the PNG government to deliver much-needed services to the people of PNG. In terms of accountability of revenues generated by the extractive sector, Oil Search is now a strong supporting company of the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, EITI, since the PNG government decided to adopt EITI.
Political, fiscal and operating stability in PNG are integral to our success, which is why a core part of our business plan is not just to operate oil and gas fields and promote the development of LNG trains, but also to work with the government so that the people of PNG get the services they so desperately need. During 2013, in addition to our long-standing community development and healthcare programs, we spent nearly $11 million US through the PNG tax credit scheme on delivering public infrastructure in the Highlands and in Port Moresby. A key area of focus for us remains promoting transparency and good governance. We became an Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative supporting company, EITI is the acronym for that organisation, in January 2013. And we were delighted when in May the PNG government announced its intention to adopt EITI. We strongly endorse this decision and other reforms the government has made since it came to power to address corruption in PNG.
With 85 years of operation in the country, Mr. Lee also took the opportunity to congratulate Managing Director Peter Botten, the management team and staff who have worked extremely hard to take the company to where it is today. That ends Resource PNG. If you have any comments or queries, do email us on this address, resourcepng@mtv.com.pg, or to find out more, check MTV online. That's www.mtv.com.pg and go to our Resource PNG page. or you can check our page on Facebook. Thanks for your company. Bye for now.